Hey, hey everybody. If you're on here, hit that like button, y'all. Hit the like button. Tag anybody on this discussion. Share it with someone that you think may find it interesting. Y'all know the drill. Also, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Charday. Um, as always, y'all support your favorite content creators. Also, shout out to Too Tall. Shout out for Too Tall for the membership. Again, I appreciate all of you guys for your love and support, however big or small. It is very much appreciated. So I appreciate you. Um, all right, so I want to get into this topic. What's going on? You guys, I'm having a little bit of delay. That hand clap was for Too Tall. So yeah, that was a little bit of delay here, but we're gonna work it out. Okay, so there's a there's a couple of things that I actually want to go over today. But the reason, what's going on, Eugene? What's going on? See everybody jumping in. What's going on, Demetrius? What's going on, Game Dreamer 58? All y'all. So Jesus was a dusty modern woman one day. So the reason how I got on this topic was really a couple of things. I ran across a few Kendra G videos, which y'all know she's dropping content regularly, and there were two women in particular that stood out to me, and I thought were worth highlighting because their stories to me show as, really teachable moments, or really examples of the kind of women that I've encountered personally, or the mindset that I've encountered personally, especially within the church. And so, before I get deeply into it, I'm just going to bring it up. We're going to listen to it, and then we'll get into it, you guys. So again, if you're joining, hit that like button, show support to the show. I will be sure to read and acknowledge all super chats. So y'all hit the super chats, cash apps, all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up really quick. And if it lets me, what's going on? Okay. Okay, guys. So I don't really know. I'm not exactly sure how the fair use works. So just to be safe, I have just a picture of the person who's going to be talking. If you want to see the entire video, you can go to her page and check it out. I've included the link within the description. But just for fair use purposes, I just have this screenshot of the person talking so you can get a sense. And so there's two people. So we're gonna start with this lovely lady. And the name of this particular video that she covered off, or this person who called in, is Mom of Three, Celibate Until Marriage, a Christian Man Only. So I want to dig into this call briefly, and then we'll go into the second call. Guys, if you're joining, hit that like button. All right.
How you doing? Good. What's your name? My name is Tasha.
Okay, so I'm hearing mixed. Some of you guys say that you can hear. Some of you guys say, "Oh, that I always go through this. I gotta like, I might need to hire somebody to help me with this. It's always an issue with the sound here." Um, you guys can hear me now though. Let me try this, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I was like a sound engineer. This is always the hard part for me. I'm gonna try this again. This time with my microphone on. Here's the thing about it: when I have the microphone on, sometimes you guys get an echo, sometimes you don't. So like, I don't understand why. I just don't understand what makes the difference, honestly. It looks like I have to play around each time. So I'm gonna try it again, guys, and you can let me know if you guys can hear it because it sounds like you guys are getting mixed reviews. So I'm gonna play it again, and you guys let me know.
Hey, boo. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? My name is Tasia. You look cute, Tasia. Thank you. Yes. And where you calling us from? South Carolina. You don't have bad light. I thought you got better light. If you turn around.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, let's see what this is. See, yeah. I mean, look at the difference. I've been trying to explain to y'all every night, like, and why y'all should have the light, because you can see yourself better. That's so much better. So, say your name for me, Taja. Tasia. South Carolina. How old are you? 29. 29. You have any kids? Yes. I have three children. 3 children. How old are your kids? 2, 5, and 8. Same dad? No. How many dads? 2. Was you once married? I'm sorry? Was you once married? No.
Okay, you guys. So real quick, she's basically, this woman's calling in. She's kind of giving a breakdown. What we found out about her is that she is a mother of 3, 29, so she's still pretty young. Mother of 3. None of them she has been married to. So that's what we know so far about this woman. Now let's continue. Again, guys, if you're here, hit that like button, and let's continue.
Why are you not with the 2-year-old dad? I was really young when we started our relationship, and the 2-year-old dad. That's the last thing. Oh, my 2. Oh, sorry, that was my first sweetheart, and we were just better off as friends. We still have a great relationship, but it just didn't work out like as an intimate couple. Okay, and then the other 2. So which 2 are by the same guy? My first and my last. Oh, so you had so your 8-year-old and your 2-year-old are by the same guy, and the 5-year-old by somebody else. Yes.
Okay, so y'all heard that. So again, mother of 3, 29, 3 kids, 2 baby daddies. Her youngest and her oldest is by one guy, and then her middle is by a different guy. So y'all, again, she's giving the backstory. Now the interesting thing about this is the name of the title is, Mom of 3, celibate until marriage, a Christian man only. So again, I just want to be clear. Her criteria: she's a mom of 3, but she's going to be celibate. She wants a God-fearing man, a Christian God-fearing man. And now that she's talking about her life, where she's coming from, 3 kids, 2 baby daddies, never been married. So I want to give y'all some context. So let's continue.
And what happened with the 5-year-old dad? Again, a young relationship. He was a lot older than me, so it kind of got a little controlling, and it just wasn't something that I wanted, because I wanted my independence and to start my own business, and he just wasn't there for it.
Okay, so I want to unpack this a bit before we continue. So this is something that I've noticed in church culture, church communities, etc. So I tend to find, usually there's like 2 extremes. So there is the extreme of, I pretty much ran the streets. I made all these mistakes. I did all these wrong things. And then now that I may be, 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s, I kind of want to settle down, get my life right with God, and I'm a born again virgin. So you kind of have that, prototype. And then there's the other extreme, which may not be as common, but is very much real, which is, I've been in my church my entire life. I'm super safe. I'm super sanctified. I'm waiting on God. I'm 40, 50s, and I'm still a virgin. So you'll have 2 of those extremes. And these are actually the 2 prototypes, or the 2 examples that we're going to go over today. Now this woman, she kind of falls more into the category of, You know, a lot of women, they made mistakes when they were younger, maybe didn't have a lot of guidance. They made some bad decisions, and now they hit the 30s and they're like, okay, I want to do things better. These again are the two kinds of women, or the two really quite frankly prototypes that I see in the church. The problem that I have is that first off, why is it that even women in the church, why is it that even women who grow up in the church have this lifestyle where they will waste their earlier years running the streets, adding miles upon miles upon miles on their bodies, making bad decisions, creating multiple baby daddies, and then they come in and it's like, okay, I'm a born again virgin. And here's the thing about it. I truly believe that, yeah, a person can be, if they make the right decisions, if they choose to change, that they can. So I'm not one to shame a woman just because she's had made mistakes. But the reality is, even if you come in and you're okay now, saved, you're sanctified, you're a woman of God or whatever, we have to ask ourselves, even as women of God, what are we going to be offering to the men that we want? And a lot of times, I'll hear in these conversations, and just being honest, is I'll hear a woman who essentially who will have wasted the better part of their years, and then they come in and come into the church, and now they've been serving God for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and they think that they deserve this spotless, without blemish man or guy or man of God. And unfortunately, it's like, man, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, God can forgive you and God can restore you, all those different kinds of things. But there is not necessarily always going to be a guarantee that you're just going to get the cream of the crop. You're going to get the best of the best, especially when you've wasted some of your latter years. And I wish that in the church or in these kind of different spiritual settings, there is a really honest, hardcore message or truth about what does it mean when you step outside of God rules per se, or if you step outside of the order, but how that could actually negatively impact you. And like I said, this woman is I think a prime example. Attractive woman. She made some mistakes. It happens. But now 3 kids later, 2 baby daddies later, it is going to be harder for her to find somebody in the church who's going to want her. Not to say that it can't happen, not to say there's not a man who will see value in her, but there's not necessarily as much as a guarantee. It does, and it can impact your ability to find a man that you're going to like. And even if there is a guy who's going to want to settle down with you, it's probably not going to be the kind of man that you wish that you could have. And this is where we have to have honest conversations about how our mistakes impact us. Yes, we can go do a whole bunch of different things and then come into church or give our life to God, and God can forgive us. Yes, He can forgive us. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are not going to experience repercussions from our actions. And far too often, I've heard sometimes this message preached within church almost as if you coming into church, you coming to God means that you're not going to have to experience the repercussions for your actions. And that's not always the case. There are very much times where it's like, yeah, you did this. God can forgive you. He can restore you, but you still have to deal with the damage that you inflicted upon yourself when you were out running the streets. So this is one of the first things that I'm thinking. I see the Ruth and Boaz story. Well, the thing about the Ruth and Boaz story is Ruth was not going out there. She was not going out there running the streets. She was not out there, prostituting herself. No, she was widowed. And even when she was widowed, she specifically chose to essentially follow the law, to stay with who she believed to be, stay with God's people. So the story's a little bit different because Ruth was a woman who was serving God, for all intents and purposes, honoring her husband, and then her husband passed away, outside of really her desire. And then later on, she was able to find somebody who would take her on. But that's a woman who was, serving God and trying to honor Him in His life, who hits hardship and is widowed, is different than a woman in their 20s and 30s. It's just like, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to focus on myself. Hot girl summer, makes mistakes, creates a few babies, has extra baggage, and then now is coming into church trying to enter the dating and mating market. It's different. It's a whole different thing. So, anyways, y'all, if you're on, hit that like button. Also, guys, show some love. Hit the Cash App, hit the Venmo. Let's continue on this. Let's continue on this. Let me see.
Okay, do you co-parent well with both? Yes. Well, no, one. One. Okay. All right, Taja, right? Tasia. Oh God, Tasia. So, what do you do for a living? I'm a freelance photographer, and I just started my own printing company, which I'm trying to get off the ground. Freelance photographer. Yeah. And printing company. What's your birthday and zodiac sign? I'm May 29th, and I'm a Gemini. You're Gemini. And you're calling from South Carolina. Yeah. So this is Tasia, South Carolina, Gemini 29, freelance photographer, sell her own printing company, 3 children. What kind of man are you looking for? I'm preferably looking for someone in the ages of 35 to 40, mature, God-fearing, very family-oriented. Business-oriented. Sorry, my son is at the door. And just someone who has a head on their shoulders, someone who knows in which direction that they want to go in, a leader. I wouldn't say I need him to be extremely wealthy, but financially independent.
Okay, so see, I remember what I said at the beginning. What's going on, Mr. Obsidian? What's going on? I see when it comes to babies, there are 3 types of women: baby mamas, divorced mamas, widowed mamas. Yes, I actually heard you break that down. I was listening to some of your content yesterday. I heard you break that down. Completely and totally agree with that. But a lot to unpack here. So we've already set the stage. This lovely lady, 29, mother of 3, 2 baby daddies, never married. So this is basically what she's bringing to the table. Now she's in the church, and she wants a man of God who is, hardworking, doesn't have to be wealthy, but has to have good money. Like, speaking in all the sign language, or all the coded language. But basically, she wants a high value man. Let's just call it what it is. She wants a high value man. And this is the thing about it that I've said before. Even within the church, even within some of these different religious settings where we have sometimes a veneer of being holy or the veneer of being spiritual. Not to say that there aren't spiritual people there, but even within that setting, you still can see women going for the same fleshly, carnal things. You still see it. Just because you now go to a few Bible studies, put on a church dress, memorize a Bible scripture, doesn't necessarily mean that those desires or those carnal desires go away. And so I've seen this even in women in the church who claim that they want a man of God, and they say, oh, I want just a God-fearing man that can pray and can memorize scripture and can, lay hands upon me, and cast out demons or whatever. They'll say all this spiritual stuff. And then you talk to them just a few minutes, and then they start talking about height, and they start talking about his educational background, or they start talking about how much money he makes. They start talking about his looks. And it's like, sis, you literally want the same thing that every woman who says that she's not saved or doesn't know God or doesn't love God, you just want what all women want. And this is where I wish sometimes there could be a little bit more honesty about what's going on, because when we couch God's desires and mix God's desires with what we want personally or what we want fleshly, it sets us up for failure. Because like I said, there are plenty of women that I know who say that they want a God-fearing man that wouldn't even give Jesus a chance. Wouldn't even give him a chance. Why? He was a carpenter. These women don't want no carpenter. They want a high-value man. They want a man that has education. They ain't giving him a chance. He didn't have a lot of money. And these women women who want God-fearing men ain't trying to mess with the dude. They ain't got no money. He wasn't considered attractive by the biblical narrative. And they ain't trying to deal with no unattractive man. He was even homeless from time to time doing the will of the Lord. So these women who want God-fearing men, Jesus himself would be disqualified from the dating standards. And this is the kind of stuff that we see. This is the kind of stuff that I've literally seen this in church culture. And I think, when we don't talk about this and we don't address the fact that even in some of these religious settings, we can still hold on to, or we can still have standards that are either the unrealistic or quite frankly, they're just, fleshly. It sets us up for failure. And here is the reality. Even if you come into church and now that you're a woman of God and you've given your life to the Lord, great. Not saying God can't forgive you. Not saying you can't have a lovely life. But you still have to be realistic about the fact that even the husband that you're going for, if you want a God-fearing man, he also has his desires. Godly men, even men that I know in the church, men who I know who serve, they still want fit, feminine, and friendly, attractive women. They still want it. Man of God, I mean, I know off the top of my head, I can think of 3 or 4 men who are like, if they're not pastors or elders, they're in leadership positions, and they married young, attractive women. They married women who were 10 to 15 years younger than them. Young, attractive women. These are men of God, pastors, leaders, serving. None of them married ugly women. I have never met a man, even in church, in Bible study, who has said that looks doesn't matter. Even godly men want attractive women. Even godly men want women who have a past, who have demonstrated discipline, have demonstrated good character, have demonstrated good decision making. So again, this is what I'm saying. I think sometimes what happens is that lovely ladies, we run the streets, and then we look at church as a way out, thinking that's going to be our way out of having to dealing with the consequences of our life. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's her situation. But what I am saying is that when we do that, we set ourselves up for failure. Because the reality is, again, when you come to the gospel is not necessarily about you getting what you want. It's not about that. It is not about you getting everything you want. God does not guarantee that we're all going to have a high value, a 6-figure, 6-pack husband. God doesn't guarantee that. That's not necessarily a guarantee of following him. And I think sometimes there are women who come in after they've pretty much made a mess of their life, and they come into the church thinking that they're going to get a get out of jail free card, that just because they've been maybe praying for extra and they've been putting in their spiritual work, now God is going to pay them back. And it doesn't work like that. Like I said, yeah, God can change you personally, and yeah, maybe you can experience more internal peace, but you still are going to have to deal with the fact that if you've made some bad decisions, some of those things may impact you. You might find a man within the church who will deal with you, your baby mama. You might not. You might find men where it's just like, I don't want to deal with that. But like I said, there's no guarantee. So that's what I'm saying. I wish there was just more of an honest conversation about how when you do that, when you engage in that kind of behavior, women, Black women, when we do that, we impact our results, period. Whether you're in church or outside of the church, whether you're saved or unsaved, you impact your ability to get the kind of men that you want. And we just have to be honest about that. So you cannot put in a tall order or go for the tip top guy who was without spot and blemish when you have a tethered, heavily stained past. Like, it doesn't necessarily work like that. Again, guys, if you're on here, hit that like button. Shout out to Hakeem for the 10 on the Cash App. Hakeem, I really appreciate you. You are always showing support. I appreciate my regular supporters, guys. Hit that like button. Also, send some love on the super chat. I will be sure to acknowledge and read all super chats. Okay, so I see. In fairness to the lady in question, she is in the South, where Black men are more likely to marry at older. Yeah, they are. That, and I don't listen. She has the right. She has a right to have her desires and her wish list. I have no issue with people's wish list. Everybody has a right to like what they like. I just think that sometimes women, we do ourselves a disservice, even within the church, when we are not realistic about how our choices impact us. I know women today who are over 40, waiting on God to send them their husbands and their virgins, and they've been waiting for 40 years. But then I'll have conversations with them, and it's like, oh, I'm a man of God. And then you're like, well, how about that person? He's a man of God. And it's like, oh, well, he's kind of overweight. Oh, well, he's kind of corny. And it's like, so then you don't want to just want a man of God. You have something specific in mind, and you think God is obligated to give it to you. And you think because you've been serving him or because you've been so disciplined, now God's going to ship you this man on a silver platter. It doesn't work like that. We still have to be practical. We still have to do our work. We still have to recognize that as much as we want things as women, men also want things too, even men in the church. And are we willing to compete? So let me continue. Hand clap, everybody. Okay, let's continue.
Just driven. Okay, what's some deal breakers for you? Dishonesty, I would say. No drive, no motivation, non-compromising, and he has to be Christian. I don't want any other religion. Okay, he has to be Christian? Yes. Have you always practiced Christianity? No. When did you start? Well, I started as a child, then I converted to Islam. Didn't work out for me, and as an adult, I made the transition back to being.
So, and this is what I want to highlight. Even women within the church, she said she started off Christian. She went over to Islam, didn't work out for her. Don't know why she came back. But neither Christianity or the Muslim religion advocate for women creating kids out of wedlock. Neither of them do. Neither of them. There's not any of them that would recommend a woman going and fornicating and creating kids out of wedlock. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's so unfortunate that many lovely ladies, even those who grow up in the church, still fall into this same trap. And I think partially the reason we do that is because we're not honest about how that behavior impacts us. Some of us are just told, just don't have sex, just don't have sex, just don't have sex, or just don't do this. But we're not even really told why. We're not even told how that it can impact our life. And I think if there were more honest conversations, and quite frankly, more people who were really invested in helping some of these young women navigate the dating and mating market, then we might see different behavior. But like I said, neither Christianity or the Muslim faith is advocating for any women going and creating kids out of wedlock. So the issue we see is not even necessarily principles of the faith. There was something inside of her that at that time was not willing to submit, or did not want to actually, submit to the rules that were going on. And I'm using this lovely lady as an example because, again, this is something that I see far too often. Shout out to Torenzo Jones for the 5. I appreciate you, SC. Said, if you're not first, you're last, and it's not God made, it's devil made. As first is last, then y'all can figure out the rest. Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'm saying. We have this lovely lady who, she made some mistakes. It happens. But based upon her own admission, she grew up in the church. So it wasn't because she hadn't heard it, or it wasn't because it wasn't around her. Now we can all speculate, because y'all know that there is a lot of corruption in the church. So for all intents and purposes, she could have seen some pastors, some people sleeping around, and she was following their behavior. We don't, we can all speculate as to why, but nevertheless, she found herself doing the exact same thing that a lot of modern women do who don't know anything about spirituality or God, and is getting the same result. And that's what I'm saying. Inside of church or outside of church, you're still going to find yourself struggling with the same thing. You're still, when you get in the dating and mating market, if you have kids, if you have baggage, now you're talking about soul ties. When you now go into a spiritual setting, now you got to think about soul ties. How many men have you slept with? How many men have you essentially made a covenant with your body with? How does that impact you? And these are the different things that do impact us, especially as women of God, when we're trying to find men that we want to now, be under their covering. Like, now they're looking at, well, you've made all these contracts with all these kind of different men. How are you going to be able to submit to me fully? These are what these men think. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm not one to just say, like I said, I do believe if a woman truly, truly wants to change and it is quite serious about her connection with God, that she can, but it has to be tested. You can't just go in one day and pay tithes and offerings for a couple of months and do Bible studies and think everything's going to go okay. No, like, it has to be tested and approved. Okay, so let me continue, you guys. Again, if you're here, hit that like button. Hit the Cash App. Venmo, Shay Sade, also super chats. I will be sure to acknowledge. Let's continue. And let's go.
Okay. So are you following the principles right now? Like, are you not having sex in marriage? Yes, ma'am. So how long you been celibate for? Been about a month. Don't judge me. I know. You have to start somewhere.
You do have to start.
Girl, listen. Okay, well, let me jump in with these questions. Right?
Okay. So she wants a God-fearing man. She's gonna be celibate until marriage, and she's been celibate for a month. Listen, she laughed, so she knows that that sounds crazy. Everybody knows that that sounds crazy. She can choose to do that, and sorry, I'm sorry. She literally said that she's celibate. Wait, she's waiting on the God, and then they ask her, and she's been celibate for a month. Y'all, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And y'all, this is partially why. This is partially why a lot of dudes don't even take us seriously as women. We don't even take us seriously when we say, "Oh, I go to church," or "I'm spiritual," I'm God fearing. They don't take us seriously because they see us doing the exact same thing that women outside of the church are doing. Sometimes even worse. Sometimes even worse. So listen, nobody's perfect. Everybody's on the own journey. She's been celibate for a month. It is what it is. You do have to start somewhere. But this is what I'm saying too. Even as a man, I can understand why a man would look at her and be like, yeah, she's a lovely lady, but there's a lot of risk associated with that. And unless she, over a course of years proves that she has changed in her life completely, then anybody getting into a relationship with her is going to have risks associated with that. They are. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, ladies, we a lot of this stuff is a lot more practical than we think. Sometimes we like to add a little spiritual stuff upon it and manifest in faith and paint little cute scriptures as a way to try to overlook the blatant reality that is standing in our face. If you have 3 kids, 2 baby daddies, you just had sex a month ago, it's not to say that you're not genuinely trying to change, it's not to say that you can't genuinely try to change. But anybody getting into that situation at that moment would probably be at risk. Any men would probably be at risk. And I think if more women had those kinds of candid and real conversations within the church, it might actually help them versus being told, oh, well, God's gonna this, and that. God's gonna give you your Boaz. As one of the commenters said earlier, a lot of people use this whole Boaz and Ruth story, but they forget that Ruth was a woman of God and that she went through a lot. She wasn't some baby mama or prostitute that was tricking around like all the city. She was a wife. She was widowed. She chose to continue serving God. She chose to continue basically honoring her mother, her new family. And then over the course of time, she found Boaz. But that was a long-term process that didn't happen overnight. And there was no indication that she was running the streets. She was a wife. She was a wife when she was married. She was a wife even when she wasn't married. And then because she was a wife material, she eventually found a Boaz. And her reputation preceded her. So you got a lot of women over here talking about their Ruth and Boaz, but they don't have the reputation that precedes them. They have a reputation of just being a baby mama, of being a hoe, of being a 304. And there hasn't been any proof in their life that there's been change. And that's what I'm saying. If you're a woman and you come into this thinking that if you just pay a couple of tithes or you start going to Bible study and you say, okay, I'm celibate. Let's say you are celibate for a year. Hand clap. That doesn't mean God owes you anything. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you deserve this Boaz. It don't mean that you deserve, it doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't. Like, you still have to contend with the fact that, yeah, there's baggage there. And there might be a guy who's going to be willing to actually, give you a chance. But you're going to need to be tested and approved. And it may not come so easy. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. Again, if you're here, hit that like button. Show support to the show. As always, find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Sade. You guys, I see 80 in here. Please hit that like button. Likes are free. And as always, I will be sure to read and acknowledge super chats. So let me continue on with this. Okay.
Okay, you're here to find a guy. So these are the questions that men tell you. So you're registered Christianity. I'm assuming you want to get married, right? Yes, ma'am. So why didn't you think about marriage before you had your 3 children? Because I was really young. I was 19. So when I had my first child, and I kind of tried to follow love and not, the rules of the Bible or
there you go.
What we were supposed to do.
There you go.
And I just kind of got caught up in the freedom and just made some bad decisions.
There you go, y'all. Boom. So it wasn't that she didn't know. She literally said, she's like, I chose love. I chose not to follow the rules of the Bible, and I made some mistakes. Now, I applaud her. I applaud her for being honest. I applaud her for being upfront with what's going on. Like I said, nobody's perfect, and everybody has their path towards, their spiritual self. So no judgment. But again, even somebody like her who's, kind of revisiting this now years later, there's been damage that's done. And it's like, it's not to say that, you can't still live a fulfilling life, but you're going to have to contend with the fact that maybe the things that you would have wanted at 19 that would have come easier for you, it may not be so easy now. And also, there's not even a guarantee that you're going to get it to begin with. And again, and I think if women were told coming back in the church, coming back into the spiritual tradition, that, hey, first of all, not only do you give your life for this, there's no guarantee that you're going to get everything that you want. Like if she was told, okay, you can do this, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get a husband doing that, would she still be interested in following God? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know her, so that would be something, a personal thing that she'd have to make. But I think more of us should have those kinds of conversations of like, hey, you've done all this different stuff. There is certain baggage associated with it. God could send you a Boaz, or God could send you a great man, or he could not. But that's not the bigger picture. Is you're giving your life for this. You're giving your life for God, who you believe has a greater plan for your life. But that may also mean that your immediate desires, what you think is the best for you, may not come true. And it's probably not going to be easy. And just because you decide to be celibate for a year, God doesn't owe you anything. Like I said, that's the truth, y'all. That is the truth. So, but like I said, she mentioned it. It wasn't because she didn't know. She chose to do something different. That's what happens. Again, guys, if we're on here, hit that like button. Guys, hit the like button. Shout out to Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. I see. Salute, support the stream. Thank you, Uncle Stu. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's continue. I think we're getting to the end of this one here.
Okay, so a month ago you decided to practice celibacy, and the goal is until marriage? Yes. So what do you say to the guy that says, okay, you have 3 children, you didn't require them to marry you, but now you want me to wait until marry you, and you didn't give them the same requirements? Like I've seen this statement from men too. That was a young-minded person. I transformed my thinking, transformed, my actions, because I want a different result. So if I have to wait forever, then I wait forever, but I'm not going to make the same decisions that I made in the past that led me to where I am.
She said it. She said, yeah, if I have to wait forever, then I will wait forever. I can respect that. And that's what I'm saying. There is a real possibility that could be the case. There's also a possibility she could get married. I don't know. That's up to God. But again, my bigger point, ladies, just because we go in the church does not guarantee that all these things are going to be happening. And also, by the way, some of us, if we're having the exact same desires and the exact same standards that we had outside of the church that we do when we come into the church, then we even have to ask ourselves, okay, are we really changed? Are we really allowing ourselves to go through the transformation process? Or are we just doing this thinking God's going to give us something? You know what I mean? So, let me see. Yeah, and then that was interesting. She's like, oh, well, when she's like, oh, what if a guy who says, okay, you basically are making you're making me wait when you didn't make all these other men wait. She's like, oh, they're just socially immature. That answer probably isn't going to work. For just being honest, that answer for a really serious man of God being like, oh, well, they're socially immature if they don't want to wait. That answer isn't probably going to work. This is my personal opinion. And to be fair, I do know men. I know men who, they decided to walk with God and they were celibate. And they met other women who were celibate and then worked out for them. I know that. I also know people who did that and it didn't work out for them. So I'm saying, you will find all kinds of different people within the church and with different spiritual backgrounds. Some genuine, some not so genuine. But I'm speaking more to those who think that they can use church as just like another formula, just as like another abracadabra magic trick and I'm supposed to get whatever I want. And I'm like, nah, it's not working like that. And unfortunately, a lot of women, they believe that. I'm not saying that's her, but some of the stuff and some of the mindset that things that she's saying reminds me of different things that I've seen just in general from different women in the church. And that's why we're having this conversation, because I think it's a teachable moment, quite frankly. Let's continue.
So what made you decide a month ago? Did something happen in particular to say, you know what, I'm going to be celibate? No, I've just been on a spiritual journey trying to figure it out. And it just came to a point where you know, at a point in your life, you have to realize that making the same mistakes, it hasn't been working for me. So I'm trying something new. And I've just seen my life and my spirit, my energy transform since I made that decision. So just what I'm going with. Okay. All right, Tasia, right? Yes. Does he have to be in South Carolina? Not currently, but I would ultimately prefer him to be here so that we can, you know, do the dating process, but not necessarily. Okay. Could he have children himself? I'm sorry? Could he have kids himself? Yes. He can have kids. Do you want more kids? I don't want them, but I'm willing to compromise if this is something that, you know, goes through to marriage. Okay. What role do you want to play in your children's lives? Well, their fathers are very present in their lives. So if we go through with marriage, obviously he would be the head of the household. But in the dating process, I really don't want him to be involved in the parenting process. Yeah. I hear your babies in the background.
Again, that would be hard. If you're looking based upon the kind of men that she you know says that she wants, a strong, ambitious man, hardworking, God-fearing, wealthy, that kind of man who is, you know, giving that kind of time in a relationship is probably going to have a hard time saying, hey, as we're dating and as you're courting me, you can't have really any interaction with my kids. Like, they'd probably have a hard time with that. And I understand when you're first getting to know somebody, you don't want to just bring your kids around. But eventually, like, if that's going to be the father, or if that's going to, for all intents and purposes, be the stepfather, the guy who was responsible for paying for those kids, he's going to have to have some interaction. And again, a lot of men, godly men, God-fearing men who are in the church would still look at this and be like, this is a bad deal. This is a bad deal. And this is not to say that she can't find a guy there who might be willing to, you know, be with her, but it may not be the top of the top guy that she's saying that she wants. It may be a guy who also has a spotted past, like she has a spotted past, you know? And that's what I'm saying. It's like, ladies, even the church, we got to be realistic. God forgiving all of our sins doesn't mean that necessarily that wipes away all the damage done, you know, or all the repercussions done from some of those different things. Like, we still do have to contend with that. And also, by the way, just as we have our desires and we have our wants, so do men. So do godly men. And especially if you are a high value man of God who has a solid career, who has been really serious and very devout in wanting to make sure that you keep yourself for your wife, you're not going to be so quick to run and take on all this baggage, unless you are personally convicted to do so. Of course, there's always those times where a man's like, oh, God told me to do this. And it's like, hey, if that's what you feel led to do, amen. But those cases are usually rare, where a guy who has really taken care of himself, you know, he's disciplined, he is successful, he is attractive, he is desirable. It's rare that kind of guy, even within the church, is going to go now take on all this responsibility or take on all this baggage, because best believe, like, extra children for men, that's not theirs, it's going to be baggage. Even if it's not to the woman, even if those children are a blessing, it's still going to be baggage, at the very least financially. It's still going to be an extra burden for them to carry. So, okay, y'all, we're getting somewhere. I think this one has like another minute or so. Let's see.
Yeah. Mommy doesn't get a break. Okay. Does the guy got to look a certain way? No. I would just prefer him to be taller than me, taller than 5'9". Oh, you're 5'9"? Yes. Okay. Does he have to make a certain amount of money? No. What was your last relationship? My last serious relationship was about 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Now I'm assuming the last time you was intimate was a month ago. Yes. Okay. Was that someone you could be serious with? Yes. Okay, so you guys still in contact? Yes. Is he okay with your new celibacy rule? He had an issue with it, but we remained as friends. But that wasn't something that he was willing to continue on the journey with me with at this time.
Okay, this honestly, this is what I'm saying. Like, you need people, even you need people within the church and stuff to put you up on game of just like, sis, this is actually impacting you. So she literally said that she's celibate. I mean, not she said put that out there. She also put out that she had sex with a man a month ago. Okay. She also said she's looking for a God-fearing man that's going to be celibate, honor her, all the success. Fine. Fine, 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 fine. But now she's still in contact with the men that she had sex with. They're not dating, but they're just friends. But he's a possibility. So it's like, sis, it's like what that is presenting is that you're already enmeshed. There's not strong, good boundaries there. A man probably looking at that situation would say, okay, just as she had 3 kids with 2 baby daddies, now she's telling me that she's saved and sanctified, but she just had sex with a guy and she's still in contact with that guy that she has sex with. She doesn't have good decision, or I doubt her decision making capabilities. I doubt her ability to be disciplined. This is probably what men are thinking, you know. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, man, like, this lovely lady, bless her heart. Like, I really hope and pray that she's able to get it together and able to grow and thrive in her spiritual journey. But if we don't address this kind of behavior, and we don't address the fact that, like, hey, first off, if you actually are trying to be celibate, you keeping close ties with a man that you've had sex with, that you already know isn't trying to be celibate, and you already know isn't the one for you, like that, you're tempting yourself. You're tempting yourself, y'all. It's like, yeah. I'm trying to keep it cool, because I don't want to like bash her. Like, she seems like a sweet girl, but it's just like, man, like, this is the kind of stuff that that people don't tell us. We go in church and people just kind of like, oh, God, Jesus, anoint oil, and that's it. And they don't get honest and be like, okay, I can anoint you with oil, but if you're still sleeping around without a condom, then you could get pregnant and you could get an STD. This ain't got nothing to do with anointing oil. It just has to do with the fact that, the laws of reaping and sowing are at play, period. Like, it don't matter how much you pray about that. You having sex out of wedlock, you get pregnant and create a baby daddy. Like, it just is what it is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and no guy, that's what I'm saying. No guy hearing that would take that seriously. No man of God, no serious man of God would hear her say, I'm celibate. I've been celibate for a month and I'm still in contact with the men that I last had sex with. Nobody would hear that and take that seriously. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, and you actually hear these kinds of scenarios, I'll see like in the Christian dating market, or I'll see people who are just like blatantly socially awkward. And it's just like, we need to learn how to effectively date and marry and mate, even in the spiritual church settings. Like, it needs to be talked about. So, okay, man, this was an interesting one.
Okay. So this is Tasia, South Carolina, 29, freelance photographer, just her own printing company. She has 3 children. She will date 35 to 40, correct? Yes. Why do you think you're single? I know what I want. I've been in relationships, and it comes to a point where you're not willing to compromise. You don't want to stay in a toxic or a non-progressive relationship for too long, and I'm willing to give up rather than continue down a non-promising road. Okay. And why would a guy be lucky to be with you? I'm independent. I'm very intelligent. I'm very business oriented. I'm a great mom, great nurturer. I'm a great friend. I'm really down to earth. I'm going to be something. I'm still on my journey right now, but I'm a great overall person.
y'all. Okay, so again, same issue, same issue. We also, as women, we've been taught to lead with the things that we think we want. What's the one of the first things she said? I'm independent. I'm a great worker. I'm ambitious. Men don't care about that. That doesn't really turn on men. It's not like, oh yeah, I make a lot of money, or yeah, I can run a marketing meeting. Men aren't like, oh yeah, like they don't care. Like that's not doing it for them. So it's like I think sometimes people get in the church and they think, okay, now I'm in the church or whatever, and now I'm serving God, and this just completely and totally changes the biology of men. Like now men are just got automatically like me. It's like, no, men are still men in the church outside of the church. They're still going to want a woman that's feminine friendly. If you're leading with like your masculine frame, if you're trying to be a boss babe within church, that's still unattractive. Especially among men of God who are like, I want a woman who's going to be submissive. I want a woman who's going to let me be the head. Like if you're leading with that energy of like, oh, well, I'm a good catch because I'm ambitious and I'm going to be somebody, that again, that's probably not going to be a turn on. It's probably going to be like, yeah, you can stay over there. We may be good friends. Maybe we can go to Bible study together. I will see you at a church picnic. And that's about it. Like, I'm not taking you home because there are too many red flags. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, ultimately, I wanted to talk about this because I think this conversation enveloped so many different mindsets that I've seen among women within the church. God bless her on her journey. I hope she does figure it out, but it sounds like there's still a lot of work to do. There's a whole lot of work to do. And that's what I'm saying. Any man of God who would find a woman in that kind of scenario and decide to date her, they'd have to be long suffering a lot. They'd have to put up with a lot. And most dudes seen that or just be like, no deal. She has too much that she has to work through. She has too much that she has to deal with. And I'm not ready for it. I'm just not feeling it. So, so like I said, this is one extreme of what I have seen. And the reason I say extreme is because, she mentioned it. She's like, look, I basically ran the streets. Three kids, 2 baby daddies, never been married. She basically did that, and now she's trying to get her life to God. She's trying to do the whole celibate thing. She's been celibate for a month. Is what it is. But like I said, so she represents, I think, really one kind of woman that I see in the church. And again, that's not to say that they can't, end up changing their lives, and not to say that they can't, they're not lovely women. It's just when it comes to, okay, now how are men in the dating market who are looking for wives seeing you? They're going to be seeing a lot of red flags. Plain and simple. They're going to be seeing a lot of red flags. Not to say some of them won't give you a chance, but if they do, they're going to be taking a lot of risk, or there's going to have to be a season where you have shown through your actions that you have truly changed. Not just like, oh, I've been going to Bible study for a month and now I've been celibate for 2 days and now God's going to bless me. Like, no. Like, you've been walking this thing out for some years, and you have demonstrated through action, through your lifestyle, that you have changed. Then will some men give you a chance in the church. And even then, there's some guys who are just like, I just don't want any of that baggage. And that's their right. That is their right. We're not guaranteed that stuff, especially when we do go and create, and make a lot of mistakes, serious mistakes. So yeah. So, okay. So let me, that was exhibit A. That was exhibit A, guys. Exhibit B, lovely lady, is what I have found to be the other extreme in the church or I guess the other side of the coin in the church, right? Which is, 40, 50 plus, waiting on God to send me my husband, still a virgin, and God's going to send me his best. So I want to unpack that as well. I see. I just want to show you some hair videos. That's funny. Okay, so let me pull this up because this is another really interesting one. Oh, where did it go? I have that video. Okay, guys, bear with me. I had the video and then it. Oops. Okay, guys, let me pull this up. I'm trying to pull up the audio for that. Okay, so this one that we're going over, shout out to Toya the Texan. It says, an expression of gratitude for representation. I appreciate you, Toya the Texan. I do. Shout out to all the Texans in the building. I got a lot of family out there.
And lastly, this
Oops,
body
I got a
butter is
lot of
super
family out there.
hydrating. This
Oops.
product.
Ooh, looks like that was playing. Sorry about that.
Hey, Autumn.
Yeah, let me say it again. Shout out to Toy the Texan for the 2. I appreciate you. I appreciate the love and support. Shout out to all the Texans. I got a lot of family. I got some blood family, some church family out in Texas. So shout out to Texas. So now this one, and again, guys, if you guys want to actually watch the full interviews, you can go to Kendra G. Y'all already know her channel will be popping. Like everybody's covering her stuff because she gets a lot of interesting callers in there. But this one is called Almost 38 and has never had sex, determines to wait until her wedding night. So this is another lovely lady that I want to cover off, who I think, again, represents a, I don't want to use the word prototype, but for lack of a better term, yes, represents another consistent kind of woman that I have seen, and in some ways still know within the church, right? Getting into their mature years, waiting on God to send their husband. Our virgins have never had sex, or if they have had sex, it's been 20, 30 years they've been celibate. Kind of that, that extreme. So I would let's talk about it. Because like I said, there's also a lot to unpack here. Okay.
Hey, look at you, ready?
I'm so happy to be here.
You look so good.
Thank you. You too, as always.
Makeup is done. You got those earrings?
Yes.
Okay, you came ready. All right, let's get into it. Autumn, where you calling us from?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's so funny. I have another wedding I'm going to. I'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan this weekend.
Really?
I will be. My cousin's
You got somebody doing your makeup?
I actually need a makeup artist. Are you a makeup artist?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, yeah, I do need a makeup artist, actually. I need one for Friday and Saturday for the wedding.
I got you.
Okay, I'm like, look at this. Came to find a man, instead you got a new makeup artist. All right, so let's take care of first business. So Autumn, Grand Rapids, Michigan. How old are you?
I am 20. Did I say 20? Girl, 37. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, girl, you be lying about your age, girl.
No, I'm nervous on here, girl. Nervous.
Don't be nervous. 37, and are you a makeup artist? Is that your job?
No, that's something on the side. I'm a customer service representative for a health insurance company.
Customer service representative for a health insurance company?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kids?
No.
No kids. When's your birthday or zodiac sign?
August 29th, Virgo.
She's a Virgo. All right, let's get into it. This is Autumn, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 37, customer service for healthcare insurance. No kids, is a Virgo. What kind of man you looking for, girl?
Now I wanna say this, and this is where it can be tricky because unfortunately, and I think Mr. Obsidian mentioned this in the comments, where it's like women who get into maybe their late 30s, 40s, who don't have kids and don't show signs of a serious relationship, that can sometimes end up being more of a stigma. It can be a stigma for men too sometimes, but not as much, especially if the man is successful. That stigma completely dissipates. It's just like it almost doesn't exist. If he's successful in his late 30s and 40s, women may look at it side eye for a bit, but at the end of the day, they're thinking, oh, he's just been in his grind. Maybe he's just been having fun. So nobody's going to really hold him accountable, or no one's really going to judge him for that. But if a woman is older in her 30s and she doesn't have kids, doesn't necessarily have a serious relationship, anything like that, sometimes that can be a stigma, even in the church. That's what I'm saying. It's important that we have these conversations because it seems like sometimes there's certain kinds of topics that cannot be addressed or are not easily addressed when you get into religious settings. And the issue with that is whether or not you address it. If it's your real life, it's your real life. If it's impacting you, it's impacting you, whether you talk about it or not. So I think it's a lot better to actually talk about the things that could be a hindrance to achieving certain goals or to, achieving certain desires, talk about those things so we can actually figure out, well, why? Why is this happening to me? Or why has this happened to me so I can do better? Shout out to Dane C. Shout out to Dane C with the 2 on the super or the Cash App. I said, hey Shay, yeah, Kendra became the reacting. She has. I feel like I see every day I'm seeing some people cover off her stuff. I mean, she has some interesting callers in there. So yeah, shout out to Kendra G. She has some good stuff on her channel. Let me continue with this lovely lady.
He has got to be a man of God.
Man of God. Okay.
That's first and foremost. Okay. That's number one. Looking for a man who's independent. He knows what he wants. He has goals, ambitions, great sense of humor, and has a job, his own place. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, what's some deal breakers for you?
Grammar. I'm sorry, but I don't like people that really can't put together sentences well. I mean, it's a bad pet peeve of mine. You send me a text and there's no punctuation in it. That's just like one of my big pet peeves.
Okay, so she might be a bit of a classist, which hey, there ain't nothing wrong. I always say there's nothing wrong with a person having their preference. Nothing wrong with it. We all can have our preference. We all can have the things that we like, you know? The issue becomes whether or not we can successfully get our preference. That's where it gets real. So she has some particular things. It sounds like she likes a man, presumably who's educated, or somebody who grew up in an environment where they are completing their sentences, talking King's English, for lack of a better term. That is her preference. So for all intents and purposes, she wants a man that is at the very least educated, or is running in high circles that requires him to present himself in a way that is clean. High value. High value. All right. Okay, let me continue.
So we have that grammar when he texts you, okay?
Well, just don't send like a whole 2 paragraphs and I don't see any punctuation. I mean, that's hard for me. It's hard for me to do that. Let's see. Communication. Somebody who does not know how to communicate. Communication is very important to me. So if you can't communicate and you can't, one bigger thing, I'm probably jumping the gun, but somebody who's able to accept that I am 38, about 37, about to be 38, and I'm still a virgin.
You've never had sex before?
Never. I'm waiting on marriage.
A lot of guys will call cap and will have a hard time believing it, but it does happen. It does happen. Like I said, I know women like that. I was a virgin until I got married. There are women out there who still do very much try to live by the book, if you will, or try to, try to be about what they say that they are. So what does happen, it's just a little bit more rare. And then as you get older, it just seems kind of like you just kind of scratch your head. My personal opinion. I'll get into this later.
I'm committed to that.
Okay. How has that been? Has that been a challenge for you?
Very much so. Yeah, that's why I was like, he has to be okay with that, because some men are like, nope, I can't get a little. No, I'm sorry.
I meet men that come on the show that also want to wait till marriage. Are you dating men in the church?
No, I'm not currently.
Why?
I don't mind dating them in the church. Most of them are either taken or they're like men, but definitely taken. Most of them in the church already. They're already taken. At least the ones that I've been to.
So there are a couple of things here. So she's 38, she's a virgin. So based upon that, no, I don't know, but based upon that, we can assume that she's probably been in church for some time. or at the very least walking with God for some time, to have chosen to take that route, because that is not the route that really anyone takes these days, unless they have a very specific religious reason to do so, or unless they're a femcel or an incel, you know. But assuming that she's been in church for a long time, this is the route that she take. My first question becomes, it's like, okay, this lovely lady is 38. What was going on in the 20s? Because now she's 30. She's just like, okay, now they're married or they're taken. Okay, well, what was going on in your teens or your 20s, even your early 30s? What was going on there? Were there weren't pastors, there weren't leaders, there weren't different people who were maybe creating spaces for you to mingle with men. Maybe there weren't like youth groups you could go to. Like, what was going on all of those years that you were engaged in spiritual practices around other single men? What was going on? Why wasn't there any traction there? One thing that I have noticed from actually being, in the church and actually being in some of those different spaces is that sometimes there is such an emphasis on spiritual qualities and spiritual rejuvenation, which I think are very important. I don't downplay those things, that there's not enough training on how to navigate the practical side of dating and mating. Because after you've gone and fasted and prayed for 48 hours, you still need to figure out how to actually interact with a man. Like, you still need to figure out how to have a good conversation. A man out there is still going to probably want a pretty woman. He's still going to want a submissive woman that's cooperative, fit, feminine, friendly. And you as a woman are probably still going to want a man that can, give you provision, that can give you protection, you're still going to want that. So it's like, after we've fasted and prayed and done worship services or Bible studies or prayer line, whatever, the basic, natural, fundamental aspects of what it means to be a woman and a man still exist. And if there is no conversation about how to interact in those basic ways, then you have people even within church they're serving God or they're doing these things all their life, but then they don't actually know how to date. They've never been shown, they've never been taught. Maybe they didn't get that training at home, whatever. They don't even know how to date. And they go years upon years upon years waiting on God, and God's waiting on them. He's like, there's opportunity out there, but you don't know how to seize it. So, that would be my question. I wonder what was happening all those different years. I can only speculate, but I would just say, based upon what I've seen from other people that I know and just different experiences, I do know that it can be common in different church settings. People that get so caught up in spiritual stuff that they're socially awkward. They're literally socially awkward, and they just going out to coffee with a dude is just like, they don't know how to do it. So I don't know. Okay, let me give a shout out. I hope I don't butcher this name. Kirindi. Shout out to you for the 10. It says, I'm sorry if you're almost a 38-year-old woman and still virgin. I'm thinking you have mental health issues related to sex intimacy. I'm sure it's not everybody, but that would be my suspicion. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Most men looking at that would be like, red flag. They're not gonna be like, oh wow, you believe in God, you are so submitted to the call. Women will do that. Women will look at a woman who's a virgin for 50 years and be like, oh my gosh, you're just so committed to God. Wow, you're so spiritual. You're so holy. Like, wow, I admire you. Women, we will beef each other up like that. But a man who's looking at a potential wife or partner will look at that and be like, something sounds off. Something seems off. Even men in church. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Dane C for the super chat. It's a shame. I don't really believe Kendra reports teachers of her content. People that react to her play the whole video through, so you can play the video. Oh, really? Yeah, I wasn't sure. I'd be scared because I just played something yesterday and I got reported. If you guys were on the live yesterday, what I played got reported. So I'm low-key scared. But okay, Dane C, that's good to know. Maybe I'll ask somebody and see, because I just don't know, and I try to err on the side of caution if I'm unsure, because I don't like my money being messed with, y'all. So I'll look into that, Dane C, and if it's cool, the next time I'll do a review, then we'll check it out. Okay.
You gotta be at the church hop, because I feel like I respect her decision, but that's a unique, not unique. You gotta really find a guy that's just as committed as you, and I think the number one place to find that kind of guy is in church.
You would think so, Kendra. You would think. However,
it's not happening.
Nope. Some of them are just as busy.
Oh,
you find more women that are not than men.
Okay. So she is putting it out there. She is a virgin and she will not be having sex until she is married. That is non-negotiable. Could the guy have kids?
Yes.
Okay. Do you?
I don't prefer a lot, maybe 2 or what have you, but I love kids.
So the guy can have 2 kids max.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe 3. I'll 3 maybe.
3 maybe.
But no baby mama drama. Please.
You just want kids yourself, correct?
I do.
Okay. Does the guy got to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan?
No.
No. So you're willing to travel?
I am.
Okay. When was your last relationship?
I have never been in a relationship, Kendra.
Okay.
You've never been in a relationship?
Nope.
Okay. Men are going to look at that and be like, that's a red flag. You're 38. You're a virgin. You've never been in a relationship. There's something wrong. That's what most people, period, are going to think that. Now, I don't know her story, but that, to me, that really fits in line with what I've said before, where sometimes what happens in church too, if I'm being honest, is that people come in there already with their traumas, their psychological woes, their psychological issues, and instead of maybe working that out or addressing it, religion becomes a good reason to hide behind. It becomes a good thing to hide their issues around. They can kind of wrap spiritual language around it, or use things like, oh, God's will, God's will, God's will, as a way to basically overlook the real issues that are going on in their life. And if she's, I don't know, but I'm like, if she is a woman that's been in the church for 38 years, waiting on God, never been on a date, never had a relationship, there's probably something going on there. And I have to wonder what was going on with the churches you were in, singles ministries. I mean, there's singles ministries in almost every church you can go to. You're going to find something. Even if you didn't marry somebody, you're at least going to have some events or somewhere where you can meet a guy to at least go out to coffee. So if that's never happened, what is going on? And that's what I'm saying, ladies. When we have these psychological, or if we do have psychological issues or relationship traumas or relationship woes, even if we go to church and we go to God, not to say that he can't heal us and we can't, do better, but that doesn't mean it's not going to impact our relationships or our relationship prospects. Any man of God looking at a woman who is 38, never had sex, never had a relationship, they're seeing that as a red flag. Women, we will look at that and be like, oh, this is great, you're serving God, yada, yada, yada. But men are going to be like, there's something wrong. Something just doesn't seem right. And that is what I'm saying. Unfortunately, sometimes in church, we can kind of hide behind. We can hide our issues, hide our relationship issues, hide our sexual intimacy issues, or hide whatever issues that we may have behind religious talk. And at the end of the day, even if we hide it behind religious talk, if there's problems, we're going to experience those problems in the dating and mating market, because men of God aren't necessarily looking to take on charity cases. Unless they feel so called to do so, they're not looking for that. They're still looking for good, reasonable wives, helpmeets. So that's, okay. You guys hit that like button if you're joining.
So you just date?
I've had friends, but it never gets to like a date thing because they're intimidated by.
No, they're not. Men, we got to get out of that. Men aren't intimidated by us the way we think. They're not. Men are not intimidated by men are not intimidated by our not wanting to have sex with them. That doesn't really intimidate men, or our career or our desires to start a bit, like, they don't care that. So we got to get out of that mindset that men are just towering around women and that they see him as like a threat and they're afraid. It's like, no, sometimes men are just uninterested. Sometimes men are just like, you have problems. Like, maybe you're pretty or you seem like a sweet girl, but you have problems. Or you're a great girl, you're just not my type. Like, you're great for somebody else, but you're just not great for me. You know, we got to get out of this idea that every guy who doesn't want to be with us is intimidated by us. Not true.
The whole, I'm not a virgin thing.
The word intimidation. Is intimidation the correct word to use, you think?
Intimidated, maybe not so much. Some are, I believe, like that's a big commitment, and it's intimidating.
I mean, here's the deal. Most men like sex, right?
Right.
Get it though. I respect your decision. You are gonna have a difficult time finding the guy. That's why I'm saying, here's the deal, guys. I love my show, and I love you guys come on my show. But one thing I also have to encourage you to is to touch the men and the women in your world's everyday life, right? So I get guys come on my show that also are virgins too. So maybe some of them are watching now, and then you guys can connect like-minded individuals. But I think if I was you and I was serious about finding a partner, I would be going to all different. I would go to church. I would church hop.
Right.
I would do different church events to surround myself with potential men that are on that same wavelength. Because worldly men trying to get some.
Right.
That's just what it is. There's no judgment, but most men are trying to get some, and I don't want to put this bad connotation out there because it's not true for all men. So let me preface it before I say it. There are men who truly want to wait to marriage that are straight men and take it seriously, but there are also some men who are unsure about their sexuality and will be down to date you, and then you don't find out until you're married.
That's true.
This man not necessarily into women, and that's why it was easy to recruit you without being sexual. Again, I'm not saying that's true for all men, so I don't want to hear no madness. So if you're saying every guy that waits is gay, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that is some gay men's hustle.
And some of them out there having sex with women now, they're on the DL too. So
right.
I mean, listen, you're gonna find craziness everywhere. You're gonna find women doing all kind of different stuff. You're gonna find men doing all kind of. I mean, it just is what it is. Here's the thing about it: if you date, if you have dated, you've been out there, then you kind of have an easier way of navigating and picking up on red flags, picking up on cues. Like if you're in the game, then it's a lot easier for you to kind of spot people who are serious or not. Because she's never dated, from the way that she's explained it, she's never been in a committed relationship with anybody. She's starting from ground zero. And even to Kendra G's point, there are men out there who they choose out of their own devotion to God to say, you know what, I'm going to be celibate now. Maybe I was, fornicating before, but now I'm going to be celibate as a way to honor God. Like there are men that I know who do that. But even those men aren't necessarily just going to be going for any kind of women. Like they're still going to have their standards. And so, like I said, just being a virgin or just being celibate does not give you a trophy, does not necessarily give you an upper hand. I think sometimes women who do decide to become celibate or are virgins, sometimes I think they can fall into the assumption that puts them, makes them more desirable. Quite frankly, makes them more desirable. And it might in a certain context, but if you don't have basic relationship skills, if you don't have a good personality, if you're not attractive to the men that you want, like if all those things are missing, you being a virgin or you being celibate doesn't mean much. It doesn't. Like you still have to have all those basic qualities, or else being celibate is just like, okay, you're celibate, but how is that affecting me? Like I can't even talk to you. You're awkward. or you're not my type. So that's what I'm saying. Like, just because you decide to be celibate or decide to be a virgin doesn't necessarily automatically mean like Prince Charming, like you are owed Prince Charming, or God's just gonna again like ship this man to your house out of devotion because you've been so obedient. Like, no, you still have to compete. You still have to compete. Or you still have to have, basic understanding and training and how to engage with men. Like, it just that never changes. Let me continue.
So listen,
but that is true, Kendra, what you said. So,
but if I was you, I would be on it, girl. Like, I would be on it. I would be going to all different type of church events. I'll be following different people. I would be putting myself out there. I would get myself in that environment because I think that's the environment you got to be in if you want to meet a guy that is willing to marry you without having sex with.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't get out enough, so I have to definitely get out more. Since COVID, I don't get out as much, but since things are, a little bit better now, then I definitely need to get out more.
Okay.
Y'all, that's another thing. If you're on the dating market, but you're not dating and you're not actually out there, like you're literally not going outside because of COVID or whatever, like you're indoors all the time working, getting your food delivered to you, watching Netflix, you're not on online dating. It's like, well, what are you expecting? Like at a certain point, you gotta at least put the effort in. Going back to the Ruth and Boaz story, women love to use that. Love to say, "Where's my Boaz?" Ruth put herself out there, so it's like we still got to do our part. Like even if we're expecting, we're inviting God into the situation, or we want a godly man, we still have to do our part. We cannot get past those basic fundamental principles of dating and mating. Like we just can't. Y'all, if you're on here, hit that like button.
The guy have to look a certain way. Do you have an appearance requirement?
I do want tall. So I'm 5'3", so at least I want like 5'8", at least.
Okay.
But yeah, and I forgot another deal or another person that I definitely want, somebody who likes BBWs, so big beautiful women, so I'm just putting that out there as well.
Okay, so you gotta be a guy that's into big beautiful women. Okay.
Y'all, again, it's like these become, I hate to say it, they become barriers. Men of God still want attractive, fit, feminine, friendly women. If we are celibate virgins, which I support all of that. I support all of that. But even if we're taking that road, we still have to be competitive. So again, if we know that men are visual, men of God are visual. They still are going to want a woman that they perceive as attractive. So her being a BBW, nothing wrong with that. But men have made it pretty clear that a lot of them do not prefer BBWs, especially if you're going for like the high value men or the men that come from a certain educational class or have a certain money. Many of them are not necessarily as into BBWs. And here's the thing about it. It's not to say that she personally couldn't find somebody, but she's an attractive woman, and there are plenty of black men out there who will get with a plus size black woman if she has the right qualities. We see it all the time. But when you combine the fact that, okay, so she's a BBW, okay, and then she's celibate, which in church, okay, but then she's never been in a relationship and she's 38, and like there's all these things, then it can become so much more of a barrier. It can be so much more of a barrier. And that's what I'm saying. We can't use God and we can't use spirituality as a way to cope with the fact that when we've never engaged in the dating and mating market and we have bad results, we can't necessarily say that's God's fault or we're waiting on God. Some of that is some stuff that we have to deal with, So I'm almost done with this one. Then we're going to wrap it up.
Does he have to make a certain amount of money?
No. He has to be able to maintain, take care of his own and, be able to get things that he wants,
Okay.
or at least have a goal to reach getting those things.
All right. This is Autumn, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 37, customer service and healthcare insurance, a Virgo, no kids. Autumn, you know what? You got to get into a relationship, because I think at your age to not experience a relationship, that's going to be a challenge for you to, find a person that's a husband. So I think you need to give yourself, you got to really put yourself out there and be on it if you want that in your life, because to be 37 and never have a relationship, that's kind of long.
Right. Right.
And then it can get to the point, you're probably already kind of at that point where you might not know how to date another person. You know, a lot of times, I don't condone sleeping with a lot of men when it comes to women, but I definitely condone dating, because the more you date, the more you learn yourself, the more you learn another person, the more you learn how to compromise with a person. A relationship is about compromise and learning how to live life with someone else. And to be 37 and never have that experience, you might have a tough time. So I want you to start making this like a priority. Okay. Well, let's keep going. So, Autumn, we already know. Well, do you think you're single because you're not willing to have sex until marriage?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't get out enough.
You don't get out. Okay. And why would a guy be lucky to be with you?
Because, well, first of all, I have something great to offer you eventually when we get married, that nobody else has had.
See what I said? God bless her. She seems like a sweet woman. And this is partially the kind of behavior that's incentivized in churchy settings. So I'm not even mad at her. But to me, it speaks to, quite frankly, a failure of some of the different failure of some spiritual institutions, and where I think there's room for opportunity. A almost 38-year-old woman who's been arguably walking with God for a long time, or trying to do her best. Her never having dated, never really having somebody sit down with her, presumably. I mean, we don't know, but never having somebody sit down with her and be like, hey, what's going on? That's a failure. Honestly, I do not believe that it is healthy or normal to be having all these women in their 30s and 40s waiting on God like virgins. I don't think that God isn't doing that. God is not doing that. There is something fundamentally wrong going on when you have women going past their teens and their 20s, going into their 30s and 40s, waiting on God, having a really hard time. I'm like, that God isn't doing that. There is a huge disconnect. So, she mentioned, the reason that she's single is because she's a virgin. And then she asked her, okay, what do you have to offer? What do you have to offer men? And the first thing that she says is, oh, well, I have something nobody else has ever had, referring to sex. As if that's a huge incentive. As if it's oh, wow, you've saved yourself for so long that now this is a trophy. Now, any man who has it, oh, wow, they're going to be so lucky because you're a virgin. Like I said, this is the kind of stuff that I've heard in church. The longer you're a virgin, the longer you wait, it's oh, wow, you're really extra special. You're really disciplined. God really, really, really loves you, or you're really, really devout. And they'll boost up these women who are going into their 30s and their 40s versus being honey, are you sure? You sure he wasn't a good option? You sure you don't want to go to that church picnic? Because it's not normal. I'm just going to call it, it's just not normal. And a lot of the reason that it happens is because we just don't know how to date. We don't know how to engage. And let's just be honest, there's churches out there with bad intentions, not all of them, but there are certainly ministries out there with bad intentions who make money off of keeping women single and saying God is my husband, and going to church every single day with no man, with no husband, with no, spiritual covering in that sense. And they continue to just, give them inspirational messages, and they pay tithes. There are churches who make money off of that. So because of that, there's no incentive for them to get with a man, because then that might mean there's less money. Now she's under the headship of a man. So that does happen. And unfortunately, I think there are women who end up being impacted because they're not taught, they're not trained, they're not really given the resources, or quite frankly, they don't have anybody who would be willing enough to love enough to say, hey, let's talk about this, girl. Like, what's going on? You about to be 40, never dated? Like, that's not God's fault. What's going on? Like, are you scared? You have intimacy issues? You got daddy issues? What's going on? You know what I mean? So instead of acting like the longer you're a virgin, the higher your value is in the mating market, we got to get real about the fact that even women may believe that, but a lot of men look at that and they're just like, this something is off, something is wrong. And no, I don't think it's normal, nor do I think it's God intention or will for there to be women getting to the point to where they may have to worry about if they're getting too old to have kids, still waiting on God. I don't believe. I know there might be some scenarios where it's like, hey, that is totally God's will for you. But do I think there needs to be an entire generation of women, a lot of women going through this? No, because we don't see none of that kind of stuff in the Bible. Women got married early in the Bible. They had arranged marriages. It wasn't all this deep. So her leading and saying the reason what makes me special is me still being a virgin. Guys are going to look at that and be like, so how about the other things that I'm looking for? I mean, a virgin is that's great and nice to have. But like I said, if you're lacking in some of the other qualities that are pertinent to being a good wife, it doesn't really mean much. Okay, I think this is almost done, and then I'm
also because I'm a loving, kind, genuine person. I have a big heart. Every day I try to strive to motivate and encourage and inspire someone. I go live on Facebook. That's what I do on my page to inspire and encourage people as I'm doing my makeup. But I'm just a giving person. I know how to cook, so I think that I will make a great wife.
She'll make a great wife. Let's see it. Fellas, if you're interested, again, you have to honor her commitment, no sex.
Okay, so she'll make a great wife, but she's never been in a relationship. That's what I'm saying. It's like, certainly a lot of room. There is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to how some of us lovely ladies understand what men want. Great wife, great ability to be a wife, but never been in a committed relationship. Or the first caller, great wife, will be a great partner, has 3 kids, 2 baby daddies, never been married, celibate, but just had sex a month previously. Like, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, ladies, even in ladies in the church, if we're still not being competitive, or if we still are lacking in this basic fundamental relationship values, then it's going to impact our ability to get what we want. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I have noticed somewhat of an imbalance in different church circles and different dating circles. Women struggling, women figuring out, well, where is God? Why am I having a hard time? Why am I this? Why am I that? And it's because some of them even haven't been equipped to understand what is good, what men want. Sometimes it gets so, like I said, uber spiritual that the basics, the natural components of relationships are overlooked. So, I think that at the end of the day, even if you're a woman serving God, you still have to learn how to have good relationship skills. Yes, it is important, if you're involved in a church and you're involved in the ministry, it is important to be, to be committed, to be in submission to whoever is an authority there, whether it is, you're living with your family, your submission with your parents, right? Or you're serving in the ministry and you're accountable there. That's still really important, but that doesn't negate the fact that you still have to date, you still have to engage, or you still have, at the very least, learn how to have good, healthy communication skills. And when you are in a healthy church environment, in a healthy community where it's not all controlling, or there's not all this corruption going on, or people are genuine, when you're in those kinds of environments, they actually create great spaces for you to meet people in non-threatening ways and maybe actually find a partner. But if you are afraid to go out, if you are socially awkward, if there's perversion, if there's all this weird stuff, then that can impede a process that's supposed to be quite natural and quite natural and fruitful. So even church ladies, church girls, we kind of got to get out of the whole over spiritual stuff and get back to the basics. Having accountability, being disciplined with our relationship with God, being disciplined with our bodies, having good basic communication skills. And those qualities of being a wife, those are the things that are supposed to be developed in us in a young girl. You don't just wake up one day and decide that you want to be a wife. It doesn't work like that. You just like turn on and off the switch. Those are things that you're supposed to learn and be trained. And if you find that you are lacking in some of those qualities, then that's something you pursue. Are the women in the church that can teach you? Are the women in the church who have been married that can mentor you? Like those are practical ways that you can really start to engage. But you definitely don't want to shut yourself off and not date and not engage and not talk to people and say, I'm waiting on God, and never put yourself in a scenario. You also don't go on crazy and break all these kids out of wedlock and then come back in and think that you're going to have a fair shot. It's like, good luck. So we got to be realistic about this different stuff, guys. But, both of those ladies, God bless them on their journey. I think they both serve as great examples of kind of the different stuff that we see. Appreciate you guys for being here. Like I said, definitely hit the like button. Again, if you like the show, if you like what we're about, be sure to support it. You can become a channel member for as little as $4.99. I like to share behind the scenes content. We have fun in the channel membership. So you can become a channel member if you would like to support me. Only $4.99 a month. Also, as always, Cash App and Venmo, Super Chats, I always appreciate, and I always be sure to acknowledge and read. So guys, that's what I got. I know there was a lot that we covered off today. Kendra G has some good stuff. But that's what I got, guys. So anyways, appreciate you guys for being on here. Oh, actually, I want to make sure. I don't think I read this. Yeah, this is one. Black Punisher, $4.99. It says, shaking my head, the Bible says not to deal with these women, but they want a true man of God. Yeah, no, the Bible is certainly clear about there's certain kind of women you want to avoid, for sure. For sure. So, anyways, guys, this has been fun. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And stay tuned for the upcoming content I have going on later on this week. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk later. Bye.